From the NewsTalkSTL studios in St. Louis, it's the Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter. On tonight's episode, hitting our marks with actress Carolyn Bridget Kennedy, fighting back against defamation with Virtual 365 CEO Michael Mota, and the Right Mind studio band Mitch Murphy and the Murphy Tones. Now, putting the fun in your dysfunctional world, here's your host, Todd Schowalter.
Boy, I tell you what, I really hate Mondays, and it's really kind of weird to be doing this on a Monday. And wait, is today? Wait, what is today?
It's Happy New Year. Who knows what friggin' day it is day?
Oh, that's right. We tape on a Thursday, but I tell you what, this is the day after New Year, and it feels like a Monday. Does it not feel like a Monday to you?
Took a few days off for Christmas. That was great. Had a few days off for the weekend. That was good. And then a few more days off for New Year's. And I'm still writing 2020 on my checks for some reason.
I still
think
checks?
it's COVID.
You still write checks?
I'm still in lockdown up here in the mind.
Oh, are you really? No, I know people that still write checks. I couldn't tell you the last time I wrote a check. I couldn't tell you when I wrote a check. Hey, I understand though that you how do you want to put this? I want you to give the listeners, because you were explaining to me before the show that you went through some emotional trauma. You did some stuff. You had to deal with some family issues that were very personal to you, that you wanted to come out in such a way that was understandable and you would still be accepted. So why don't you go ahead and tell the story?
I recently came out to my family, and it was hard for me. I had some family that was living up in Wisconsin, and I'd go visit them a lot, and they moved all the way down here to St. Louis.
Yes.
And it was right then that I said, gotcha, I hate playing board games with you. Oh, my goodness. This is their personality. Their entire personality is based around playing board games.
But the way, I mean, seriously, because I sat down and I said, and I kind of had to, compose myself. But you actually, during the holiday, came out to your family that you don't like board games.
There is certain levels of board games, certain tiers, where Candyland fine, Uno fine.
Right, yeah.
And then you get into the roll the dice to level up this card, and then you got to collect all the wheat for your farm, and then make your army move across Russia, but it's named a different country than Russia.
Yeah.
All of those games that are so convoluted and the rules change all the time based on a roll of a die. I hate these games, and they give me anxiety just hearing someone read the directions. You have about 4 sentences into the directions before I check out completely and say, just start the game and I'll see if I can catch up.
Well, you don't have to explain to you, because I accept you for as you are, and I say we're friends, and that's okay, and nothing's ever going to change that. But did you have to struggle like for a long time, like through your childhood and everything, with just kind of not let people know that you really don't like board games, or was it something that happened later in life?
I was hiding it for a long time. I was in the closet with the board games. There's lots of board games are kept in the closet.
Right, sure.
And I would look through and I'd see, Pretty Princess, and I'd think, well, that is fun. Maybe if I threw on some of this jewelry, I'll feel more excited to come out of this closet. And then I just never found the strength until this year.
Until this
Once
year.
my family spent hundreds of thousands of dollars buying a new house and moving down here to St. Louis. So this New Year's, they decide to whip out right in front of me, in front of the whole family.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This offer to play some sort of escape room in a box.
Oh, no.
I had come out to them about a week ago, and they decided, let's test him. Let's see if he's actually lying about this.
So they're in denial. They were in denial.
I said I was born this way, and they did not believe me. They thought they could convert me into a board game lover, maybe with some shock therapy or something.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
And so I said, sure, if it's all going to come down to me and my attitude, let's try this escape room in a box.
Right.
And it was the absolute nightmare. It had the most rules that you could ever have in a game.
Sure.
And nothing satisfying happens. If you've been to a real escape room, you put actual numbers into a lock, and then the lock opens, you hear the ka-kunch, and the things open, things make noises.
It's rather toxic if you're, not one of board games. But go ahead, But
a board game in a box is you just flail around, and then the cards will tell you if you're right or wrong, I guess. And after 2 turns on this stupid escape room, I just said, I'm out. And then I started sending Happy New Year messages to Todd and my family.
That's right. Because you did. I mean, you said, and I kind of, I kind of sensed it because I didn't want you to know at the time, but when I received your message.
Around 10:30, I was saying Happy New Year. I was checked out of this party.
You were done, but we were actually, and I didn't bring this up, did I? But at the time, we were actually playing a board game.
Oh.
And I said, look,
I could sense it too, maybe.
I sensed it, and I said, I hope you can live with yourself now because, I'm your friend regardless, okay? I accept you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, more people ought to be more compassionate to those who don't like board games, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's fine. To me, you're my buddy, you're my friend, and whether you like board games or not, you're still my friend, okay?
I didn't want to bring down the entire night, so after I flipped the table over and the cards went flying everywhere.
Yeah, that's always good.
I recommended playing a game that I do enjoy. Now, this is very technology heavy. This is creativity heavy. There's art needed to make this game go.
Yeah.
There's a whole line of games under this company, Jackbox. Jackbox is a wonderful line of games.
Not Jack in the Box, but Jackbox.
I mean, that's where the name is derived from.
Okay.
So one of the games that I enjoy is like a Pictionary game where you draw on your phone and then people have to guess what it is because it's sent up to the TV. So that's what the technology, it's so exciting to me to see how this stuff works, that you're in this little room in the cloud and then you're writing on your phone and then it sends it up to the TV, and it's well-written jokes and lots of great artwork is used for this. And it made me think that if only all of our board games involved the ability to also stare at my phone at the same time, they'd be a lot more interesting.
Right.
Don't you have a bone to pick with Pictionary?
Well, no, you mentioned Pictionary, and it's not a bone to pick. It's like I'll pick I'm not going to go down that road. But anyway, the thing is about Pictionary, whenever we play that, which isn't often because I'm not a big game person, either. I mean, there's some games I like. But, I mean, people will say, Pictionary, we have to have Todd on our team because he can draw. Okay, now here's the thing. Pictionary, the whole thing is just to sketch something out really quick so you can guess what it is. Or you're not up there to do like the Sistine Chapel and do a portrait, okay? So we'll do something, and then I'll be on their team. They're, oh, boy, we're going to win. Yes, we are. And that's what they do, too. And so it'll be my turn to go up there and draw, right? And it'll be something, as I mentioned, like a barn on a farm, all right? So I just sketch out something really quick. It's a barn. And they're like, wait a minute. That looks like Eddie the 2-year-old did it. And I go, you have to guess this. I'm not going to do a portrait, a Norman Rockwell painting up here. Otherwise, we'll lose because it'll take too long. So they're all disappointed that I didn't do some portrait. And now we're talking about why I didn't draw it better, even though I can draw, and we lose the game because we run out of time.
You have a 1-minute timer generally for this, and it's the either or. Would you rather me draw one picture really nice and we get it?
That's right.
Or would you rather me draw one really bad and then you guys argue about it and then we don't get any points?
And that's what happens. That's exactly what happens. Yes. Well, I tell you what, we didn't do it this year. We played some game where you had to come up with like obscene answers to something. I don't know. That was one we did on New Year's Eve. Well, by the way, you said 10:30. That's when I did get your message. Were you in bed? Did you check out? Were you up for the new year? At midnight?
I was up for the new year. We had went downstairs to do the Jackbox extravaganza. Played a bunch of different games. There's one where it's like you are a secret character and people ask you 20 questions and they have to figure it out. And everything you type on your phone, it shows up on the screen and the computer has to read it.
Right.
So I was writing obscene stuff like pointy boobies or something.
Sure.
Are you pointy boobies? And they'd say, no, I'm not pointy boobies, but you're really far off. And it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that does sound
Making
like
the
fun.
computer. You ever do that with like Alexa where
No,
you make her repeat dirty words?
You know what I do to Alexa? I think I mentioned this before, but I'll say, Alexa, play porn music. And you know what? And first of all, my wife, I mentioned this on an earlier show. My wife's go, what do you mean porn music? How do you know what porn music is? I go, everybody knows what porn music is. And sure enough, Alexa will start playing. That's kind of like porn music, okay? But Alexa knows porn music.
There is this subreddit I follow on the website Reddit, and the big thing that I love is life pro tips. It tells you big life pro tips.
Is that like beef tips?
Yeah, it's like life pro tips on how to get through life without dying.
Oh.
And the number one for New Year's was, you know how you just got your new Bluetooth speakers?
No.
Be careful about watching adult films around Bluetooth speakers and your phone having the Bluetooth on. It may connect to the entire house and then start playing the porn music.
Oh, that would be fun.
And then people will know what you're looking at. But back to New Year's. I did stay up the entire time, and we turned on I think Netflix has some Winnie the Pooh type ball drop stuff that you can turn on anytime you want.
Winnie the Pooh doesn't wear pants. That kind of reminds me of porn because Winnie the Pooh never has pants on.
That's true. And so you can turn on the ball drop whenever you want. You're never watching it live anyway. If you turn on, the ABC affiliate or something, you're watching something from New York City that happened an hour ago, and it's not live. And so you may as well just turn on whatever countdown you want to see.
I couldn't do it. Here's the thing about Times Square, and you know why I couldn't do that Times Square thing where you're in there with a giant ball and you're all packed into each other. Because as soon as this show goes to break, what do? I have to
go to the bathroom.
I have to go pee, all right? And the thing is, I would be at this Times Square thing waiting for the ball, packed shoulder to shoulder with everybody in New York City, and I would have to pee, all right? And I'm thinking, where am I going to go? I bet you there's nowhere to go, and I'm not going to go in the street because that's nasty.
I think they have little sectioned off areas for you to stay in. And
I don't
you can't
think so.
even leave that roped off box when you're in Times Square.
Right.
You have to stay there, and there's
Can't
no
do it.
bathrooms except for the one guy whose box is right there on top of the sewer lid.
Oh.
And he brings his crowbar and he lifts up the lid and he chops trout right there like he's in India
drops
where you're just going over a hole and then whoever's down there gets hit.
I guess so. Well, I couldn't do it. I really wouldn't want to do it. I heard, though, speaking of New Year's, cause at midnight, not only was I my eyes shut and asleep, but I saw this last night up in North St. Louis, the Disneyland of St. Louis. People are shooting bullets all over the place as they normally do, and they're falling through ceilings and hurting people.
What's great is a lot of these criminals like to shoot off stuff while they're being geo-tracked by their phone.
Right.
And then they upload that video or just go live straight to TikTok and Instagram. And if you want, you can just touch the phone and it'll tell you exactly where the bullets are falling.
Yeah.
And that's very helpful for the bullet tracking, and you can see, I'm not going to get hit in the next 10 to 15 minutes.
What in the heck kind of celebratory thing is this? On Thanksgiving, they go, hey, it's time to eat the chicken, not the chicken, it's time to eat the turkey. Let's go shoot some bullets in the air. What kind of, is that normal? So it's New Year's, we're going to go shoot bullets in the air. I don't get it. That doesn't sound like a holiday type of thing.
Whenever it's 4th of July, you see billboards all over the place that say, buy 4, get 1 free, buy 10, get 1 free.
Yeah.
There's no way that if I were to analyze, if I were to look at the cost between bullets and fireworks, there's no way that bullets are cheaper than fireworks.
No,
why
they're
are they
not.
Just letting off a clip into the air? Bullets
doing.
are like $10 a bullet or something. I've never bought one. But.
And then I see on the news, I walked out into I walked out into the kitchen the next day, and I thought there was some powdered sugar there on the counter, but no, that was my ceiling that it all come down with bullets. Can you imagine that? We're having a little bit of a ruckus in my neighborhood. We had, I'm not going to go into details, but someone got into in our neighborhood, there's some people moved back and I don't know, it's like a family thing that I promised I wouldn't bring up. And we had the police that had to show up and kind of calm the peace.
What's crazy is that you probably have a Facebook group for your neighborhood.
I do, and I got kicked off.
And now you have the scoop on the most violent people that are in the neighborhood that everyone should know about to avoid and sign petitions and call their aldermen. But you've been kicked out of the group.
I've been kicked out of the group.
So you can't even spread the message of what's been going down. Your Ring camera is filled with amazing footage.
Ring cameras. I have other cameras all set up because, I don't know, I was bored. But you know why I got kicked off of our neighborhood Facebook group? Get this, and this is a true story, by gosh darn it, because like I said, 94.2% of everything we say on this show is true, and this is part of that 94.2%. I'm getting ready to go for a jog one day, or I call it run, but everybody says, no, it looks more like you're jogging. And this one neighbor, and I'm talking to another neighbor, okay, and I'll make this quick so people can not get too bored. This one neighbor, nosy neighbor, comes up to us, and this was right after a baseball tournament, okay? So we had our cooler drying out, like on the front porch, because it was all wet from being at the tournament. And she comes all snooty up. She's kind of like the neighborhood Karen. And she says, and I'm talking to this other neighbor, by the way. She interrupts us before my jog, or run, as I say. And she says, I noticed that you have your cooler on your porch. And I'm like, yep, we sure do. And she says, I know personally that people who can't or going through a hard time and can't afford food do that so people can donate food. And I'm like, what? And this person's like, what? I go, no, we had just gotten back from like a tournament, and I'm letting the cooler dry out. She goes about her way after trying to make a scene. And so you know what I did? I got Blake, because Blake and I have the same sense of humor. I go, here's what I want you to do. I want you to hold a sign in front of this cooler that says, I'm starving. Please put your meat in this. And so he did it. I posted it on the group page as a joke. Ha ha. And now Todd is gone. No. Yes. Gone, like gone girl, gone Todd.
Bant.
That's it.
They call these women Karens all the time.
Karens.
But it sounds like this specific lady, we should come up with a new nickname. I was coming up with H-O-A-hole.
H-O-A-hole.
Look at this H-O-A-hole over here. Or you could
I like that.
You could spell it out and sound it out. Was it H-O-A? That'd be a hoa.
Look
at this. She's a hoa for show.
Hey, don't be a hoa. Wait a minute. A hoa. I didn't say I said hoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I should. Well, I don't know. That'll get me kicked off again. But can you believe that? It's just silly.
You know what you need to do now?
What?
You got to put the cooler out and say, fill me with your meat because there's a snowstorm coming.
There's a big, here's the thing.
14 inches.
14. You know how I measured how deep it is? Well, I can't tell that joke.
By dollar bills. Every dollar bill is 6 inches, and you're a rich man.
I guess, made to poor people, I guess I am. But here's the thing. There are certain meteorologists, okay, and I'm not going to mention names, that are very, very reliable, okay? They're very reliable. And again, I'm not mentioning names. And so if so-and-so says it, I'm like, it's probably going to happen. But there are a couple, and I'm not going to mention names, I tell you what, they should have been in other professions because 99% of the time, they get it wrong, okay? So if they say one thing, I know it's going to be the opposite. Now, we've had a couple of these reliable ones saying that this weekend, the show's on Saturday, that's tomorrow we're supposed to get Sunday, because Sunday still comes after Saturday, okay, that say we're going to get an ice storm, like a snowstorm. And I'm like, I don't know. That person is wrong every single time. So I get excited. We're not going to have it. But then the other person says, yep, it's coming. So I don't know what to do. I am literally flummoxed.
Now, what we have here is we got radio to do.
Radio.
Now, radio is live. You can't stop radio. It's like that freight train that's coming for you no matter what when you're tied to the tracks. And what happens is we accidentally start our radio shows at 5:30 a.m. That's when we go live here at NewsTalkSTL with people in the building. And some people, Stell, the producer for Mike Ferguson, live about an hour away.
Does Stell live an hour away?
Can you imagine this guy from Washington, Missouri, waking up to a snowstorm at 3 a.m., and he just says, I don't think I'm coming in today.
I would do that.
There's no show. What do we do?
Vic, if it's raining outside, he won't come in. Isn't that he's got his like set up in his basement? Like, hey, I'm got my ham radio set. Doesn't he do that?
He does do that. So now what we got to think of is, do we get an inflatable mattress for Stell right here in the middle of the conference room?
Right.
Or do we get him a sweet hotel room across the street at the Flop House?
At the Flop House. Well, we've done pictures at the Flop House, so they know us over there. And I think they're afraid of us because we went over there and shot photos and acted really goofy by their indoor swimming pool.
We walked out with so much ice in our pockets. It's just free over there.
It is free. I don't think we were supposed to take the lamp and the ice bucket, but hey, it was Christmas time anyway. I don't know. It's going to be a big show. It's the first show of 2025, so if it's not good, hey, you got the whole year to, hope for something better. But in the meantime, I'm Todd Schowalter, along with my bestest buddy, Joey V. This is The Right Mind Show. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter, Carolyn Bridget Kennedy on how to make it as an actress in Hollywood. Welcome back to The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter on NewsTalkSTL. And now a man who thought he could make it rich being a personal trainer in Hollywood until he realized they only work for scale, Todd Schowalter.
Hey, we're back. I'm Todd Schowalter, along with my buddy Joey V. And on the line now is actress hey, Joey, get this. She's actually out in Hollywood right now. Actress Carolyn Bridget Kennedy. How are you?
I am fabulous. How are you this fine morning?
Well, we're actually cold because, we're here in St. Louis and, we got a big ice storm coming in. I'm not going to go into a weather forecast, but it's probably warmer where you are. But
well, we use the word freezing in LA. So
yeah. Now, where in LA are you? Because I used to live in LA. I used to live in Burbank. Where are you at?
West Hollywood.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, see, so you're already in a warmer area because Burbank was always freezing. That's true, Joey. It really was. It was terrible. Yeah. But besides that, what is new with you? I checked out some of the things that you're working on. You were just in the Umbrella Academy, I saw, but you're doing other things as far as films that you're actually producing and making. What's the latest, and what's your latest project?
Well, the other fall show that came out this fall was How to Die Alone, which is on ABC Hulu. So that was another ABC show that I got to work on, a comedy, which was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And working on some scripts that I'm writing currently, and just kind of finishing the festival circuit on a couple of short films. So working away on all kinds of independent projects, and of course auditioning, and those come, in any moment, and then suddenly you have to learn a whole bunch of lines, and then a day or two produce an amazing piece of work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how long have you been out in L.A.? Are you originally from California, or are you a? Go ahead.
I'm from Canada. Canada, so Calgary, Alberta. Born in Winnipeg, colder than cold.
Sure.
And I've been in LA since 2018.
Okay, so what? Tell us your story. I mean, so because you've produced and directed a lot of shorts. I mean, was that the progression for you? I mean, were you doing stuff in Canada and then decided to make the move to LA, or how'd you get there?
Well, I started acting in probably 2011, 2012. Somebody said, "Hey, you're kind of funny. You should take an acting class." So after 20 years in a paralegal job in a cubicle, I started taking acting classes, and I fell quite in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said to me, "Well, you're in Canada and in a spot where there are a few things being made, but you're not going to get noticed just sitting on your couch at home. So if you want to be serious about acting, make something." So I wrote and produced and acted in a web series and a short film. And in 2017, those did the festival circuit and got awards in Seoul, Korea, and in the Netherlands, and in the UK, and Germany, and of course in LA. And when I went to LA the first time was 2017, I got a nomination for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy. And the web series I filmed in my home in Canada screened in Sony Studios. So it was quite a fascinating journey. And
sure.
then from there, I got a visa as what they call it, an O1 visa to work in the fields of acting, writing, and producing in the United States. So my husband and I had a conversation that we didn't want to be 85 years old one day and go, "Hey, what would have happened if you went to LA?" So we decided to live in two separate countries starting in 2018, and we've been doing that 6.5 years. So,
well, that's really interesting. Okay, I didn't realize that. So this is basically this is a second career then. I mean, so you had you were in you said a paralegal, and so this is something that was always kind of burning inside of you that you wanted to do and you knew you could do. And I'm not going to go into age or anything like that, but I mean, it was a later in life type of thing, right?
Definitely a later in life thing. And the funny thing was, it seems like in the United States, at least, schools tend to promote more of the arts earlier on. And I think there's people there that tend to believe anything is possible at an early age. And here it's very practical, at least where I grew up in Winnipeg. You had band maybe in school. I think I did one play in junior high, but it certainly wasn't, regional theaters and a lot of, hey, you can do anything. So I took a very practical job out of high school, and I just kind of let the arts fall to the side. I enjoyed watching movies. I loved it. I just didn't appreciate it was something that I could actually do. Mm-hmm. And when somebody mentioned it and I found out there were productions shooting here, I did background on Fargo, one of the seasons of Fargo. Mm-hmm. And I just fell in love with the whole process. I thought, this is magic. People actually do this. So that's when I thought I have to take fortune into my own hands and make my own things and learn to showcase what I can do. And if I felt I could act, obviously you need to have something written to act in. So I wrote my own material. And then if you have a script, nobody sees it if you don't produce it. So
right.
I really learned all of it, baptism by fire in a way. You're riding a bicycle and you're on fire and everything else is on fire, but you're learning and you get it done.
Right. Okay. Well, there's an actress here in town. Like I said, we're in St. Louis. Her name's Karen Drewley, and she comes on the show often. She produces. There are a lot of parallels with what she does and what you've done. I've actually been in a couple of her films, and she writes, she produces, and she's. Later in life, she's actually a librarian, and she has aspirations also. So I think it's interesting. There's always that point that you obviously crossed where you said, yeah, I am going to make the jump. So obviously you had a supportive husband, and ironically she does too. What was it that actually said, yeah, I'm confident. I'm going to go ahead. I'm confident enough to go ahead and do this? Because I think a lot of people get to that point, but then, actually, taking it to that next stage, there's whether it's fear or something else, they've got to overcome it. What was your secret? How did you do that?
Well, I think it's just, like I said, the fear of later in life being older and wondering what would have happened if you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I really didn't want to live with that. I would rather, try and be in the arena playing the game than be out in the parking lot going, wouldn't it be nice to have a ticket? So, you're doing it, you're doing your thing. You just literally put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. And if you look over time, there's gradual progress. And I think that's the big key, is to always take action and do something about what you want to do instead of waiting for things to happen to you. The second thing I would say is when opportunities present themselves, to go ahead and move forward with those opportunities if it's something you can do, if it helps somebody else and it's something you're able to do, because you don't know where those opportunities will lead either.
Mm-hmm. No,
so
yeah.
That's really probably what I would say would be the best advice. So that's great she's doing that, because really, would you just rather not know? I'd rather know.
No, and I'm in the same boat. I agree. I mean, life is not a dress rehearsal, as they say. You've got to go for it. What was your process? And I don't want to focus too much on, your whole transition, but I mean, so you went out, you say you left your husband behind and you went out on your own. How long did it take you to get established, and what was your process to do that?
Well, my husband drove down with me, so we packed up a vehicle kind of right to the top, and then we, went to IKEA and got stuff, whatever we needed to get for the apartment there, and he was there for about 2 days before he had to fly back. So, we essentially had a FaceTime marriage, and, we did a little research the first time we went to LA, and then we went back before we picked the place where we were going to stay, and I kind of researched some schools, and I looked up online, and I asked people, surprisingly, you tend to find people that know other people, and then you get information on where to train, where to study, and you start to meet like a group of very creative, like-minded individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had my nourishment between classes and auditioning, going to the theater and seeing things in person, and then screenings and other events. And then, I'd have my FaceTime marriage at home on the iPad in the evening, eat dinner with the iPad. And my husband there, and then, he'd come out every 3, 4, 5 weeks, and we'd have a weekend together to go and hang out and do fun stuff. And it was like almost being uncomfortable without my husband around face to face when he'd leave. But like I'd go through this like angsty period of I've got to get the needle moving forward and keep making something. So it's,
sure.
Writing down ideas, capturing things that come to you, brainstorming on those, and then slowly pushing everything forward. And it's interesting because you can be doing a whole lot of creative things, but to the outside world, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of progress because, a script can take 10, 20, 30 drafts.
Sure.
Something like even the Squid Game can take 10 years before it reaches the screen.
Right.
It was a script and took 10 years to get made. So it seems like, people come out of nowhere, but it's really years and years and years of work and ideas and moving things and basically making one project and finishing it, learning from your mistakes, and then applying those things to the next project. So you're gradually showing your work becoming stronger as you go.
Well, we're down to the end here. We're in 2025, and again, I have all the confidence in the world that you're going to have a great career. What is your highest goal? Or I shouldn't say highest goal. What are a few? What's your biggest hope for 2025? Is there a role you're trying to snag, or a film you're trying to produce? What is it so far?
Well, it's really one of those things where you have no tight control over any particular role that you're going to get an audition for. So when I get an audition, I really focus on just doing what I want to do with it, as though it's my day to perform it, and I've been hired to do the job on set, and that's what I think is needed. If I do that, I can let it go and not be focused on the result. So I think I'm more just looking forward to the surprises that await with the auditions that come, the cool characters I'll get to work on and see, the cool names of potential shows I could get on, and the opportunities knowing that people are going to see my tapes and see me for things. Whether or not I can get those things, that's always remains to be seen. But, you'll never figure out why you get the things you do and why you don't get the things you don't, if that makes sense. So I really try not to go down the madness role, but I'm excited because I know there's 65 days. Amazing new year, and I know there's going to be a ton of auditions to come. The numbers keep going up every year, and I know that opportunity will come at the right time.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you the very best in not only this year, but in everything you do. Like I said, I'm very confident you're going to have a great career, and I hope that you'll stay in touch with us because, again, I think we're going to be seeing you in a lot of stuff. And, and when you get that big, huge role, I want you to just remember, that's because I was on the Right Mind show, okay?
That sounds good. It sounds like a very fun thing to keep in mind.
All right. Well, I wish you the best, and thanks for joining us. Until next time, take care, okay?
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, she seemed like a very nice woman. You know what? I was going to talk to her about like celebrity stuff and the usual shtick, but I like Joey. She reminded me of Karen, of Karen, who's been on the show with her landscaper husband Dave. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm. We need to have her back on so she could put us in one of her movies. I got to get my IMDb back to number. I don't know, whatever, 3 trillion, whatever number is the best number.
I'm up to 7,647,028 or something like that now.
Now, they say there's no small roles, just small actors.
That's not true.
Luckily, what's been happening is TV sizes have been getting bigger than ever.
As you know.
More HD and cheaper than ever.
Right.
And something you may not know is I've actually worked on a lot of TV shows as a production assistant.
I know.
A gopher, someone who gets the lunches.
You're the best boy that doesn't like board games.
Moves cables and stuff. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you also get thrown in as an extra, especially on these reality shows where you're not actually doing any union work.
Right.
And there's this one episode of a show called Finding My Father. It was on Lifetime or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was in the background at a winery just sipping my little drink, and I didn't care before because I had such a tiny TV. I'd see the episode on my phone, and I purchased it just so I could own it. But ever since I got the 77-inch OLED TV, I had some friends over, and I said, let's check out my scene.
Wait a minute. Stop the story. Mm-hmm. You had some friends over.
My theater at home only seats 4 people, so I could only invite 2 other people besides me and my girl.
I'm getting a complex. Go ahead.
You and the wife can come over and see my scene as well. But I pulled up my scene, and I was clear as day. I mean, on a 77-inch TV, I felt like I was the star, even though I was blurry and in the way, 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 way background. And it felt good to finally be proud of my performance.
What it was called? Did you find the father?
Yeah, we found him. He was a piece of crap, and he lives across the street from you now. And he yells at...
And they get into fist fights, and it's like, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Wow, yeah.
He's a terrible parker. That's what made him such a bad dad. He blocks in people across the street. Don't park directly across from someone else's driveway.
Who in the heck would do that? Right there, boy.
Goodness.
And my wife, I can't bring up on the show, she was a little ticked about it. You know what she did?
Mm-hmm.
Get this. She said, I'm just going to go park in front of their house. And so she did that. And I go, I don't think it's the same. But and then we had to walk, and then we went to go run some errands. Come on, we'll take our car. And I had to walk across the street to get to her car. It just wasn't the same. In the meantime, I'm Todd Schowalter along with my bestest buddy Joey V. And no Mitch. This is The Right Mind Show. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter, Michael Mota on what it's like running a mob movie convention. Welcome back to The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter on NewsTalkSTL. And now a man who got kicked out of the mafia for eating his pizza with a fork and knife, Todd Schowalter.
Forget about it.
Hey, we're back. I'm Todd Schowalter along with my buddy Joey V. And on the line right now is the person we were just talking about. It's Michael Mota, and we were saying you're a serial entrepreneur, among other things. What the heck is a serial entrepreneur?
Nice to meet you. A serial entrepreneur is someone who likes to entrepreneur. So
Okay.
I just love everything business and starting things from nothing and turning them into something. So it kind of stuck.
Okay. Well, you started a new company called Virtual 365. So what is that exactly?
So it's an app. It's like what it says. It's available 365 days a year. It actually morphed from a company that I created during the pandemic. So I originally had an event called the Sopranos Con, which was a convention that brought all the Sopranos fans from all over the world. It was a huge success. It then was turned into Mob Movie Con, which kind of just opened up the genre. But of course, during that time, that's when the pandemic hit and people were at home and stuck, and we didn't know where the world was going to go. So we figured, why not create a way for people to get connected through the internet all over the world? And at that time, not knowing, when we would be getting back, thank God, it didn't take as long as it could have been. But that's kind of how it started.
Okay. Now, virtual, is that something where you actually connect people who are fans of different shows or are films and things like that you actually do virtually?
Exactly. So it has a virtual and now obviously in-person component now that the world's back to where it needs to be. But it brings people together. I watched that Sopranos convention and saw people come from all over the world. But, it was a small sample size. We had about 15,000 people over 2 days, which was a huge success. But there are millions and millions of people that would have loved to be there if they could, either afford to come there, depending on where they live in the world, or if they had the time off. So the virtual component allows people to tune in even when they can't be there live. So there's a live component and a virtual component, but you did hit the nail on the head. It is about people that love the same thing. I took, at the time where I started Sopranos Con, Comic Con was a big phenomenon.
Yeah.
And, the only
Still
difference is it is still. The only difference is this one was more specific. So the test was let's do an event that just focuses on one genre and see how many people we could get, and it shows that people love to be with people that are like things that we like. So, like basketball, people like to talk and sit around and have a drink and talk about basketball. So that's what we were forming. We had Boxing Con and all these different components. So again, with anything that happens in life, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you kind of have to just shift. Who knew a world shutdown would change the way we did it? But yes, we created an app, and it's going to allow creators to come on and make money and talk about the same likes.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's very interesting because that's not where I thought we were going. So because I thought, okay, you're obviously, but you're a Sopranos fan, correct? I mean, but that gave you. Okay, so that gave you the idea to start like a Sopranos Con. But you're right. I mean, there's these niche industries or niche shows and things like that, I should say, that, you could basically have fan groups based for each one of these. So is that what you're doing? You're taking maybe like a Seinfeld Con or something like that and putting together these different expos?
Exactly. The idea was we started with the Sopranos, then went on to Mob Movie Con. I had the first ever Mob Movie Awards, which was really cool. And then we had Boxing Con scheduled and a bunch of different events. And then we went more into the virtual side of things. And now that the world's picked up, and we've launched the app, now it's to see, what the fans want. I don't unfortunately have the bandwidth to do every genre, but certainly, we'll have the fans talking about the different things that they love, and then we'll pick some that we want to do, and we'll figure out where in the world we want to do it. But we always started for the fans, by the fans. That was the initial initial slogan that we used, and we went with it. And we were fans, and we just wanted to do something that we wanted to attend, and that's kind of how it went. I've dabbled in a lot of different businesses, from restaurants to real estate, and hence the serial entrepreneur. But my love was for, big events that get a lot of people together and enjoying themselves. That's really my thing.
Yeah, we have a guest a couple times on the show. He does something similar for the Titanic, for example, and they have a big Titanic expo out in Vegas, and they pull people from all over the world, to come check this out. So, I mean, it's a great idea. What are some of the upcoming? I mean, you have some things in the works now that are going to be coming out in 25?
Yeah, so we actually were going to do the 25th anniversary of The Sopranos. You know, the thing is, I've done so many different things, and my time is always pulled this way and that. And we focused a lot on the app that just started to roll out again. We had one version of it in a beta test, and now the second beta test is out there. So we really are just focusing on that, seeing what the fans want. You know, we're not sure exactly which one's going to come. Maybe it's a mob movie part 2. But, you know, we don't have anything scheduled yet, but we're certainly ready once the app gets out there and people are excited about it. That's where we're going to go.
Gotcha. Do you have to have people on board with it as far as, like, say, Sopranos? I mean, are they sanctioned, or is there something you have to do, or is it just kind of like, we just like the Sopranos, we're going to get together and have a good time? I mean, do you have people from the cast or anything like that takes part in this stuff?
We do. So the first one, great question. The first one, we had 55 cast members come. It was the first time in history. Most of them never even met each other because, again, when you're doing a show like that, episodic, you know, some of them meet each other, some don't. It depends on when they come into the show. And it was kind of one of those things you throw the stuff up in the air and see what sticks. And we didn't know what we were going to get. We had reached out to HBO to see if they wanted to be a part of it. I think they were trying to see, too, at that time, it was the 20th anniversary. They wanted to see if there was still a fan base for it. And they ended up coming to the event. They really loved it. But we changed it to Mob Movie Con for the second one because obviously Sopranos is just, you know, they're getting older. There's not as many. Unfortunately, some of them are passing away. So it'll be opening up the genre a little bit, allows for it. But yes, we had 55 cast members. I'm very friendly with a lot of them. Even in the mob movies, same thing. We had Armand Asante and just a whole list of them. And what people don't understand is a lot of these people are really, you know, that there's only about 1 or 2% of the celebrities that are well off enough that they don't have to do extra things.
Right? Yeah, sure. Right.
They're constantly looking for work. So, you know, one of the things that was going on when we were building the app is we have a part of the app that not only allows fans to get together, but also to interact with the different cast and sports figures, very similar to what Cameo was doing, but ours was a little bit more real time. Cameo was getting a lot of different celebrities doing shout outs. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the app.
Oh yeah, I've used it before. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So similar idea, but a little bit more on the live side of things is what we did. We actually launched our own coin, crypto coin called a virtual coin, and that's something that's been integrated. So when people download the app, they'll be able to integrate their virtual wallet. They'll be able to tip each other and, you know, those that have things to share. So you know, we're really just trying to create an immersive environment. And then we'll, again, once the buzz goes, we'll get all the folks together. And the celebrities are willing to do it. They love it. They love to be able to come and see the fans. I mean, that's why Comic-Con has been such a success. And you see some big names come out. It's because they really love to spend time with their fans, and especially ones that are that interested. I mean, when we had Sopranos Con, we had people dressing up like Tony Soprano. We had kids coming in looking like Uncle Junior.
Yeah, sure.
Just real cool stuff.
Got it. Okay, well, I got a note here to ask you about this, and I don't know how much you want to touch upon it, but
yeah, go ahead.
It says apparently there's something with the Boston Globe. Recently you were involved with some type of a defamatory article or something like that, and you're in the midst of some legal action or something like that. Tell us what this whole story is about.
So I live in Rhode Island. Rhode Island's a small state, the smallest state. It's interesting, and when you do big things, sometimes people try to pull you down, right? They say if you're trying to climb up, they're always trying to grab you down. So we had this one rogue reporter, you know, and it was during the time, I don't want to get into politics, but it was during the time where, you know, legacy media and, you know, fake news, et cetera, they were going after Donald Trump.
Right.
You know, and I felt it myself. I had one rogue reporter do about 22 articles within a 9-month time frame against me, pretty much tearing everything I've done from education to my restaurants to housing that I was doing, and it was just one after another. You know, after the first one, it was, you know, I kind of had to take a step back and say, okay, sometimes you don't want to fuel the fire. You know, sometimes it's better not to say anything. The more you give it attention, the worse it is. So that's kind of what my legal team wanted me to do. But unfortunately, it went from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. and 22. So it became where it became too cumbersome. So I had to sit back and say, okay, wearing my marketing hat, a lot of people unfortunately have felt this, but they don't have the means to go after these folks because they're big. The Boston Globe's not a small newspaper. It's been around for a long time. And the reason why Boston Globe, by the way, instead of Rhode Island, is because this reporter actually works for the Boston Globe. It does the Rhode Island beat.
Okay.
And as you know, newspapers are fading, and other type of news, as you're doing now, are speeding up quickly because people, unfortunately, just can't believe what's out there. And it's unfortunate. I became a victim. And
what was he going after you for? I mean, what was the problem?
It was actually a woman. She actually went after me against the convention. She actually said that I was a con man because the virtual con, get it? Virtual con. Okay. Sopranos con, instead of using the word convention. And, she kind of spun this web and just kept going and going and going. So, because of the atmosphere and what was happening, the environment of what was happening with Donald Trump, I ended up, the world finds a way sometimes. And I ended up getting Donald Trump's attorney and friend from high school, Peter Tickton, who wrote an awesome book about Donald Trump called What Makes Trump Tick. Interesting book. But he ended up becoming my attorney, which was great. And we filed a lawsuit. And now, we're going to hold people accountable. That's kind of what made virtual cons and Sopranos con kind of take a little bit of a back seat. Not because I didn't want to continue working hard on it, but it's difficult enough to do business. It's even harder when someone's, sitting on your head and trying to drown you. So that's kind of how it took a little bit longer. But we're doing what we need to do to stand up for ourselves and the company. And, it's going really well.
So you were, let me make sure I had this right. So you were vocally a supporter of Donald Trump, as am I, and I'm kind of been in the same situation. And you think, and as a result of your politics and your beliefs, I mean, this reporter you're saying came after you, your business ventures. It's kind of like they're doing with all the canceling BS, like where they're trying to cancel. So basically, was that the motivation to come after you because she just didn't like your politics? So she figured she's going to make your life miserable.
I don't know if that's motivation because sometimes you can't figure out somebody's motivation.
Right.
However, it's way too coincidental. I'm obviously a Republican in a very blue state. I was doing a lot of big things. I'll give you an example. I had bought a hospital that was closed down, and we were building 350 low-income housing units. And she just, completely blasted me with these articles about virtual cons and Sopranos con and being a con man, et cetera, that the state took the opportunity for me to be in that building. Another restaurant I had, the city came after me, wanting to evict me for no reason. So she caused a lot of harm. And, I do see it all the time. A lot of people don't get it. I've traveled to Mar-a-Lago a few times and met a lot of the same people that, unfortunately, when you stood up for what you believed in, they came after you harder.
Right.
So you either had to stop, right, and kind of shift or stand up for yourself. So it was interesting when the election came. We had already filed at that time, and it's compelling. You can go on my website, michaelmota.com. All the lawsuits are on there. But as the election was coming, it almost felt as if I was winning, just the fact that the truth was coming out about the legacy media.
Well, I can't wait to hear how everything turns out, and I also can't. The show we air here on Saturday night, and so we'll be about 2 weeks away until our country is actually back. I couldn't be happier. I know you are, but will you come back and tell us how everything worked out when you find out?
Absolutely, I will. Yeah, thank you, and thank you for giving people like me the time to tell the truth.
Oh no,
get it out there.
You've got to do it, and I appreciate your patriotism. Well, take care, and thank you for being with us, and we'll look forward to the next time. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. So what do you think of that, Joey? I tell you what, I mean, it is kind of a travesty that people have to go through that kind of thing. And, I don't know. What are your thoughts? I think the legacy media is pretty much dead, or it's changed dramatically. I don't think it's going to go back to the blatant lies that we're used to. I still know people that watch MSNBC and CNN, and they take it for, the truth. I mean, that's not true. It's malarkey, I tell you.
You deal with slander on a daily basis.
Yeah.
People are coming after you with the pitchforks and trying to hack your site. And we've had that gentleman's lawyer on before, Mr. Tickton, I think what it was. So we need to get him on the payroll to start suing everybody that doesn't like your cartoons and texting you pictures of poop with sunglasses on them.
Peter, I mean, who's been on the show, I mean, he's a big fan of the cartoons and the show, and I think he's probably listening right now. So Peter, we got to have you back here pretty soon, and he's got to help us put an end to all this travesty that's going on. It's just not right, I tell you. It's not right.
Now, I was actually promoting your website the other day in our newsletter, and I noticed that your site was down. And
it was
made
hacked.
Me sad.
It was hacked, my friend. It was hacked.
Same with your roof. Your roof got hacked, and your website got hacked.
It was hacked. So now we're going through this whole, and that's not easy. You got to go through all this stuff to try to get it fixed. And, I was tired that day, and I thought, oh, come on, guys, not today. Here's the thing about these hackers, all right? If you have this much intelligence, okay, and you can do why don't you do something good? I mean, all they're trying to do is, they're going after my cartoons? I mean, don't you have something better to do than that?
I think we found a new income stream. Instead of selling T-shirts and cartoons and hats and buttons, we're just going to sue people for slander.
I like that. Hey, like I always say here on the Right Mind Show, if you don't have a right mind, you don't have a mind at all. I got to get going really quickly because otherwise I'm going to burst. I'm Todd Schowalter, along with my bestest buddy, Joey V. You've been listening to the Right Mind Show. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to The Right Mind Show with Todd Schowalter. To find out about all things Todd, go to StudioTodd.com. We will see you next Saturday night at 5 p.m. right here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, and always streaming online at NewsTalkSTL.com.